Hello everyone, I hope you all. Once again, welcome to Let's Talk More with Romail Gulzar. Today my studio guest is Zeenat, working with young people to supporting them, their dream and the vision. Let's find out more. Stay tuned. Let's talk more. Zeenat, welcome to Let's Talk More. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you very much.
Before we start with your new adventure, new events coming up, especially for the charity, tell us a bit about yourself, please.
My name's Z. I'm born and bred in Leicester. Started off a career in finance, but then got into fitness through my own personal journey. Work with women in the community, helping with their fitness, with the health journey. I say fitness, it's all around well-being. So I support women in all areas of life with their fitness, from all areas, different demographic, different parts of the community. And like you said, recently I've just taken on a role as a youth engagement activator, which is working outside of Leicester, but working with young people with their mental health and helping children that are maybe inactive become active and support their mental health through activity.
You born brought up in Leicester. Which part of Leicester you born and grew up?
It's been here, Levington, Highfields, around those areas. Yeah.
Growing up in Highfield, Levington, what's it look like in back days?
Oh, my journey was very different to most. I was a young carer, so my mum was ill from when I was very young. So when we go on to the next challenge, it'll kind of make a little bit of sense. So, like I said, my journey was very, very different. It's nothing like it is now. Not as busy, can I say? Obviously, there was no technology around. Being first generation born, I think there was always a struggle between your British identity and your South Asian identity. Our parents obviously had come. My parents came here from in early 70s from Uganda, Idi Amin. You know the story. So there was always this struggle between me. I suppose growing up having that identity struggle of being South Asian, holding on to the sense of belonging that my parents wanted compared to what I was growing up in, the media, going to school, British values, British culture, and I think the whole of my teenagehood and early 20s was that permanent struggle.
As you say, your parents came from Uganda, dictator Idi Amin, when told that all Asian leave the country within weeks, and now next year will be 50 years on.
Absolutely, yes.
And you think Asian Ugandan and still that fear sitting in the heart in current days?
I think that that trauma doesn't disappear. I think it stays inside of you. I think the way that we set up and we settled shows that the businesses that have come out of it, that sense of security that we've developed. So I think it's still there, and I think it's passed on through generations. I think it's really important for the Asians that came during that period to tell their stories so that the stories don't go away. I believe that as a first generation born, I didn't take the time out to really understand what our parents went through, what kind of trauma that must have caused them, how difficult it must have been for them to leave everything behind that they know and then come into a country where they knew nothing, and then to settle and to obviously bring us up. It must have been a struggle. So I think that is definitely there. I think they were in survival mode for most of that period, and now that we've kind of come out of it, I think through the storytelling, certainly from me, when I talk to my elders, I can see that it's still there. Trauma doesn't go away, but I think telling their stories is a form of healing. And so I do hope there's a lot planned next year, especially in Leicester, because I know that many of the Asian Ugandans did settle in Leicester. There's a big population in Leicester.
So you growing up in Highfield, if we ask you about, you think 40 years back or 30 years back or 20 years back, was a lot of challenge between white English community and Asian, or the racism is still exists or is despair?
I think that my personal journey, I didn't experience it. And I think everybody has a different lens as to where they come from. Many of the Asians that came from Uganda tended to live together in very close-knit communities, big families. So we were kind of protected, almost like in a little bubble. I went to a private girls' Muslim school, so I was very protected. And then it was only really when I went to university that I came across people of a different colour or, different backgrounds. Although the street that I lived on, we did have different, it was predominantly Asian, the area that I grew up in. So my personal journey, I didn't feel the effects of it, but where I am now and the different people that I talk to, I know everybody has a different experience, but I personally didn't experience it.
Earlier, you said when you're growing up, your mom was not well, am I right?
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about that and what challenging is for you to be growing up.
She lost capacity very early on when I was young, which meant that I had to go from being 4 to 40 overnight. That meant that I had to learn to take responsibilities on that most kids wouldn't expect to from the age of 7 onwards. Personal care, medication, that kind of thing. School was kind of my escape. So when I went to school, for me, that was kind of where I came alive. When I came home, it was like I became an adult. So yeah, it was a very different journey to most children that age. And a lot of her becoming ill was because I believe down to the struggles that she personally went through settling in the UK, the different dynamics of the cultures clashing and her personal journey, which I didn't personally get to know that much about.
What is impact have in your life, 4 to 40s, especially now?
In every way, of course. I mean, I was a single mum myself, so my journey didn't stop there. So I was a single mum for most of my daughter's life. And I think what happens is when you go through that kind of, I would say it's a trauma, is that when you have children yourself, you want to give them a different life. I mean, I was very fortunate. I had a very good family, a big family support network, and I made it. Many kids, many people didn't have that in their life. So for me, what that does is it gives me a real understanding of different things, experiences that people go through, and I feel it's my responsibility, having made it to this age, relatively well, to then share that experience and support others through my personal experience and through my journey.
Everybody's in life have ups and downs, high and low. What's your most highest time growing up in Highfield?
Oh gosh, that's. I think for me, I've been through different career paths, and I've had many accomplishments in life, but by far it's raising my daughter. In that environment, I was a first generation born, so we had to fight a lot of struggles, and you want to give them a life that you didn't have, but you still want to teach them resilience. And I believe, because I was still there when she was growing up. It's only recently that I've moved away from the area. So it's really bringing up a grounded adult into the world now. She's at university. And to me, when I look at her, she is by far, without doubt, my greatest accomplishment.
Before we go to your events coming up, we talk growing up in Highfield, being a single mom. What's your message to out there who's a single mom or parents? They have a passion and they want to pursue their passion. What's your really message to pursue their dream? What they can do to become a better, like a big game changer?
I think when you're a mom, you automatically, innately develop a resilience mindset and a focus mindset. Because being a single mom is not a position anyone wants to find themselves in. And when you find yourself in that position, it's when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And that's pretty much what I would say to any mother, because it then doesn't just become about you, it becomes about you being a role model to that child. And there's going to be days when you get up and you don't even want to get out of bed. There's going to be days when you've had no sleep. There's going to be days, I worked 2 jobs for most of my daughter's life, 12-hour, 13-hour, 15-hour days. There were nights that I didn't even sleep. And you will go through those days. But at the end of it all, you have another human being that is completely, for those years where they are reliant on you, you do it for them. And honestly, you find the strength through them. You really do.
Highfield is a very iconic place in the heart of the city, and some people say Highfields now, once upon times, a lot of different community was residents. Now, this is only one part of the community. Most of the white English communities move away. Have you seen that difference yourself?
It's a natural evolution. People, when they get wealthier, they move into different and that's just a natural industrialization process. So yes, that has of course happened, but I believe there's been a huge amount of investment. I think there's a big movement. I particularly work very, very hard with the inclusion, diversity agenda. I'm very passionate about it. I'm very passionate about bringing communities together. I'm very passionate about the identity that we have here in Leicester. The richness that we have is down to our multicultural society. We are the flagship city in the country when it comes to our diversity, and it's what I believe makes us very strong. So yes, there's been movements away. That's natural. And yes, it's natural in unconscious bias for us to kind of move to areas of where we feel we belong. But at the same time in Leicester, especially with us being first, now second and even third generation born, I think there's a massive change. There's a massive movement towards inclusion and, you know, the human side of, you know, what binds us together is a humanity. We've got COP22 happening right now. There's such a bigger challenge with the planet that brings us all together that I think those kind of things, yes, we have different layers of identity which are made up of our colour, our culture, and that just makes us rich. And when we come together, that just adds more to the table. But our humanity brings us together. There's lots of little grassroots groups forming to support the planet, and they're made up of every colour, every race, and it's beautiful to see. And I do believe that we are now coming away from that and looking at our bigger challenge of saving the planet.
Zee, tell us about hope.
Hope is, for me, pivotal in life. You know, for some of us, that hope is embedded in our faith, which is for me personally. But we have to have hope for when during the hard times and the good times. Hope of better life, because there are inevitably going to be circumstances we've seen with COVID, all the difficulties that have, all the challenges that we faced as a society, all the issues that have come up from COVID. And I believe the difference between how some people coped other than with those that had a hope mindset, that had a resilience mindset, and I think resilience and hope is kind of connected in a way, is incredibly important for humans to have that kind of mindset.
Why is so important for you to this fight?
If I'm honest with you, the decision was a very impulsive decision. There was no real thought that went into it. I just found out that Mum got cancer. And I suppose, again, when you're faced in that situation where a loved one, you know, has been diagnosed with a life-threatening condition, the hope mindset doesn't work as well, because you've been told that this person has a finite time on their life. So I had to find a way of coping. So yeah, I signed up to a fight. It was for cancer research, and that was last year in January. But because of the lockdown, I was meant to fight on her birthday, in fact, on the 28th of March. She was at that point just been diagnosed. They said they couldn't treat her. They didn't know how long she had to live. And for me, this was my way of coping. There
is many other ways to raise awareness, raise charity funds. Why you choose this going in for to fight?
I believe that when I step into that ring, I am not just stepping in and fighting for myself. I am going to be speaking up for all those people, all those women that maybe don't have a voice for themselves. It's laying down all those shackles that, you know, like you said, being South Asian, you do have lots of barriers. You know, we inevitably, me growing up, maybe I had a little bit of a blind spot when it came to challenges, but I know I had to fight harder for anything else. When it came to school, college, when it came to becoming a manager at work, whatever I did, we always have to fight harder. Being a single mum, I had to fight harder than, you know, you have certain privileges if you're a man, you have certain privileges if you're a colour. I had everything going against me. I've always had to fight in life, and this is me showing that in the ring.
You think this fight helped to tackle the mental health?
Absolutely. I mean, the training that I'm going through to prepare, it gives you a sense of discipline, which I need. It helps me in and out of that ring. You know, it's not just about the fight, it's about building that resilience mindset. And hugely, boxing is one of those sports that can really support with mental health. I mean, obviously, like I said, my mum passed away during lockdown of cancer. At the same time, I was also on front line. I was part of mutual aid, so I was a lead in Belgrave. So I was supporting people with prescriptions. So I was first hand, you know, front line. I was, you know, just go through that whole period. My mum was obviously going through the final stages of her life. There were people that were struggling. I was there that just didn't know what to do, so I helped to coordinate that effort. And in my day job as well, I was doing the same in Melton. I was on front line there as well. And at the same time, I was delivering classes to ladies online, because for them, they needed something, because everybody was just caught unaware, you know. So I was very much juggling a lot of things. And I know lots of people struggled, and I suppose my life prepared me for that very well. So this is me kind of just going out there, and like I said, it's the voice for the unspoken, for the voice for those that don't have a voice.
4 to 40, now you are in a soon will be fighting ring. Just describe on the day what will be happening and how you're preparing.
So obviously we go through training as part of the process. So I'm training 3 to 4 times a week. Obviously I train anyway because of my classes. Nutrition is very important. It's all aspects, every single, you know, it's from when I wake up in the morning, you know, what I eat, what I put into my body. It's the physically challenging myself. I hate running, but I'm running in the morning. It's getting up early on a Sunday morning. It's real discipline. When I think it's important, especially during COVID, where we've started this, well, for me anyway, and for most people, hybrid working. For those that are working, hybrid working, some people have had to change their occupations. Everyone's had to change their way of life. So this is, again, bringing back some structure and discipline into my life, where I feel with COVID and lockdown, things were obviously all over the place. So it's bringing that structure back, and it's teaching resilience, because inevitably life will challenge us. Death happens, change happens, and when that happens, we have to be able to cope with it. So the skills that you learn and develop when you're training for a fight, I believe prepare you for life.
Last few things, who are you fighting against?
I get to know about 2 weeks' time. We all train together. It's a charity fight. You know, it's not meant to be competitive, but obviously you want to go in to win. No one goes in to lose. But I think we've built up a real bond whilst we've been training. We'll all be rooting for each other on the night. It's going to be huge for most of us. It's a huge personal challenge. Everyone's there for a different reason. And I think that's what makes it so unique to competitive boxing, you know. So I won't know, but it's going to be huge either way.
Who's you inspired by in the boxing world?
Layla Ali. I'd say Muhammad Ali. I share the same birthday as Muhammad Ali, but by far Layla Ali. She's the epitome of a modern day woman to me.
How member of public how they can support you or your fight and your vision?
So my website will be launched by the end of the year. It's www.zfit.co.uk, so you should be able to find it. I'm on all the social media, ZFit Leicester. All the information will be on there. Please follow the journey. And for women particularly, we've got a lot planned for next year of how I'm going to be using my experiences with food, with exercise to help and support you. So come and join me on that.
Finally, after you're completing your fight, what change will become in your life and especially in your circle?
It's hard to say. I've put so much time and focus into the fight itself. Where that journey leads is a vision of strength in the community. For me, I become content, or my self-actualization is when I see others thrive, when I see the community thrive, when I see people come together. That is my hope, and I'm hoping that that's what it's going to do.
So where is the event and when is?
So it's the 27th of November at the Tiger Stadium. It is a sold out event, so no tickets left.
Zee, thank you for speaking to us and all the best for the fight. Thank you very much, Zee. Thank you very much for watching this episode. I will be back with a new guest, new life story. Stay tuned. Let's talk more with Romail Gulzar.